Hi, this is Alan Shimel, DevOps.com here at ChefCon Austin 2016, and I'm joined by a fellow journalist, but more than that, kind of a pretty well-known name in the DevOps community, Ben Kepes. Ben, welcome.
It's awesome to catch up, as always.
Yeah, so Ben, you've come a long way here to ChefCon, from literally around the world in New Zealand. What brings you here to ChefCon?
So it's always really interesting. I mean, obviously, we're at this sort of inflection point where software is super important and allowing organizations to compete. You know, all of those cliches that we hear, but they're true, right?
Yeah.
And so kind of automating processes and removing a lot of the drag is super important. So really interested to see what these guys are doing and more importantly, what their customers are doing.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of that, I don't know if you had a chance to sit on the Alaska Airlines keynote this morning. That was pretty amazing. And what I thought was amazing about it is when we talk about things like opening the door at the gate to the plane in 60 seconds or tracking the suitcases and luggage. I mean, those are not things that maybe we would think of as software related traditionally.
Well, and what's really interesting there is that, you know, I mean, Alaska, like any other airline, you know, they'll have systems working on mainframes. You know, they've got obviously a highly regulated environment. And so innovation within that context is super hard. So hearing what they're doing, you know, he almost downplayed it. You know, we've got an app here to allow you to do, you know, baggage claim or whatever. But what has to happen in the back end for that to occur is really phenomenal. So super interesting.
It is. I mean, I can't. I was kind of blown away. Honestly, I was blown away by the whole presentation of what they're doing. Living on the East Coast, I don't fly Alaska Airlines much, so I'm not familiar with it.
Well, you might soon.
But I'm ready to move just to fly the airline. But you know what? You hit on something else, Ben, and that was the whole automation thing, right? We've seen a bunch of announcements around Chef Automate, Chef Habitat, which is automating applications, but working soon with Chef Automate. And in just a couple of minutes, I've done some, you know, interviews and talking to people. That is the key to this whole thing, isn't it? It's kind of driving it.
Yeah, so something I talk about, and hey, it's not rocket science, you know, is this idea that organizations are more complex and what they're looking for is fabrics that span the range of the different things they're doing, different infrastructures, different applications, microservices, whatever. And so pretty interesting to see Chef kind of wrap up a bunch of different solutions into essentially one package or one fabric. And I think that's increasingly going to become the way organizations work because, you know, the cat's out of the bag, the horse is bolted, you know, wild heterogeneity. So wrapping that all together within a fabric is going to be the key thing going forward.
And I think another thing, Ben, and this is, you know, I'm just back from London from Gene Kim's DevOps Enterprise Summit, and it's the Alaskan Airlines running mainframes. It's the Lloyd's Banks and Her Majesty's Tax Service, not the unicorns, if you will, that are born in the cloud, that have all that cutting edge infrastructure. This automation way of doing things, you know, is taking root at all of our fundamental businesses. It's a different thing. Let me just kind of pivot a little bit though, Ben. Tell our audience, what's Ben Kepes up to lately?
So, I mean, more of the same really, lots of consulting, lots of investing, lots of advisory, you know, still doing a lot of journalism, obviously. But more and more I'm actually helping, you know, organizations, whether they're vendors or whether they're end users, actually get their minds around this stuff. And often at a governance level, which is super interesting. I mean, sitting on, you know, boards of directors and helping companies navigate the sort of digital process and journey is super interesting.
You know, it seems to me, and I maybe I'm wrong, but it really seems to me that, you know, internet time has kind of shrunk our life cycles, if you will, but we're in a bigger acceleration than ever.
I mean, it's pretty interesting. You know, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours that it takes to gain mastery in any one field. I think in the future, 10,000 hours, there simply won't be that time because things are moving so fast. And you're right, the rate of change is that much quicker.
It's an interesting time to be alive.
May we live in interesting times, as the Talmud says.
As they say. Yeah, you're 100% right there. Ben Kepes, thanks for joining us today. We're going to call it a wrap. This is Alan Shimel for DevOps.com at ChefCon Austin 2016.